What's up, guitarists? Will Metz here, and welcome to a new educational video on this channel. Now, for those of you that have been following me, you're probably wondering, where have you been? Haven't seen a new video in a long time. I apologize for this. The main reason is that I've been working every single day on the Will Metz Academy that I created, making sure everything works, taking care of my students, and it's pretty much taken all of my time since I am still pretty much a one-man show for the most part, and I need to record all the videos. It takes a lot of time. But anyways, here's a new video, and we're going to learn a lot of cool things in this video. Again, my goal, if you don't know me, is to educate and empower guitarists or aspiring guitarists and help them gain better improvisation and general guitar skills, mostly through an understanding of music theory and fretboard navigation, which are the two main culprits and reasons why guitarists get stuck typically at the intermediate level. Remember that if you like what you're hearing here and you like the channel and the content, subscribe, like, and share. Those three things are free, 3 clicks that help me tremendously and encourage me to do more and more of this content. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different than all my previous videos, which were very theory or fretboard navigation focused. In those videos, we were mostly exploring concepts to enhance and improve your understanding of different notions. Hopefully those were helpful. If you don't know any of those other videos, feel free to check out my channel. Most popular one is probably this one over here, which guitarists really enjoy, but there's all sorts of other long format free content. Now, if you don't like long format content, then stop watching. Don't hate in the comments. It's perfectly useless, okay? There's all sorts of content out there that's short form where you can learn all the gimmicky things in 2 minutes. So for those of you that are like, can you play already? Stop talking, all these things. You know, there's people that enjoy this content and they actually really like that I'm talking a lot and taking time to explain, as opposed to a lot of people that just explain in 2 seconds and it's all surface level. You don't learn anything and you stay stagnant. And that's probably why you still have time to hate on YouTube videos that are free and meant to help you. So if you don't like what you see here, just exit the channel. If you do enjoy my content, then welcome again. In this video, we're going to analyze, dissect, and learn how to play one of the guitar parts in one of the tunes that I recorded with my band Eldergrown, which is a Colorado-based band here in Denver. And we just released a single. It's going to be part of an album. It's called Parachutes. And you'll see it's a very interesting kind of style that mixes a lot of jazz, neo-soul, R&B. And so I'm going to teach you the tricks that I'm using in this tune, but we're also going to talk about the theory, the harmony, and the fretboard navigation behind it. So it's a little bit different because we're using a real scenario. And this is an opportunity for you to see how I actually use all the things that I teach, to show you that I'm not just talking here. I actually use those things in my real musical professional life. So it's also a way to show you what I'm actually doing outside of just teaching. I don't just teach, I also have bands and projects. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play the tune and play the guitar part over it, the whole thing, so that you can see how I'm playing it. But even better than this, what I would love for you to do is to actually click on the link here or the link below of the full video that we released of this tune recently. That will help us a lot. It's difficult as an independent artist to actually gain traction and gain new fans and new people that enjoy the music. The music industry is a tough jungle to try to navigate. You might call it some shameless self-promotion. It's not really just my promotion. It's for the whole band. These guys are amazing. They work really hard. So again, watch the full video on YouTube. Again, the link will be here and appear over here. And also, there's a link to the Spotify tune. Go ahead and listen on Spotify. That helps the algorithm a bunch. All right, so without further ado, this is Parachutes by my band Eldergrown.
I've been parachuting out the sky, out my mind, out to find some other human. again. Fear talks, fear haunts. Death is on its way, sing songs, sing wrong. Try another day, freedom in the pages of a powder wig. Treason, turn a pagan to a latter day. Don't tell me where you at, man. I can see it, fears in the back, man. Where's the key at? Intrigued by your reaction. I can see the trying hard to give back now. Now I'm meaning what I'm seeing is that people wanna postpone. Torn between the reasons of a culminating this decision from the dealer dominating what we're here for. Distinguishing the fearlessness from what we fear for. Yeah, fear talks, and I'm listening to fear haunts. What's the difference? And I sing songs. Every evening when I sing wrong, that's my gift. I'm the very shooting out the sky on my mind. How to find some other humans, but which one am I? None of us can tame this tourist any longer now. Over and over again. Separation anxiety is part of me. ADHD, split personalities, bipolar disorder, I'm clinically on the spectrum. A lesson I wanna teach. Some depression in AA meetings, hypertension and anger and fatigue. I'm invested in exploring each part of me, and they're a part of me, and they're a part of me, and they're a part of us. They're a part of me, and they're a part of us. They're a part of me, and they're a part of us. They're a part of me, and they're a part of us. They don't make us any less human. Come on. I've been there shooting out the sky on my mind. How to find some other humans, but which one am I? None of us can tame this tourist any longer now. Over and over again. I've been parachuting out the sky on my mind. Out to find some other humans, but which one am I? None of us can tame this tourist any longer now. Over and over again.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in this little video. So hopefully you enjoyed the style and the guitar parts. Again, if you enjoyed this, please support my band Eldergrown. Go watch the full YouTube video and go listen on Spotify and share with your friends if you really like that style of music. So let's get into it. The way we're going to structure this is we're going to start by analyzing the chord progression, because it's pretty easy. It's pretty much the same chord progression the whole time. And that is something that's fairly common sometimes in neo soul, right? This style here is more like R&B, some jazz, and I would say the guitar parts are very soul or neo soul. So you're going to learn a lot of tips on how to play those styles in what I'm going to teach you, and then you can use them in your tunes. But that means you don't need a complicated chord progressions to make a tune. You can use all the other elements, the layering, the different parts, the vocals, etc., to make a complete song with 3 chords, which is what we have over here. So let's look at that chord progression and talk a little bit about the key and reestablish the definition of those chords and how to analyze this chord progression. Let's do this. Okay, so the chord progression is based on a 2-bar cycle that repeats over and over again. In the first bar, we start with an A major 7 for the first 2 beats. The second 2 beats, we have a G sharp 7. And finally, we land on a C sharp minor 7. Now, in some of the voicings I use, I add extensions to those chords. What are extensions? Typically the 9, 11, or 13, or variations of those, which remind you correspond respectively. The 9 is the interval of the second, used as an extension. The 11 would be the interval of a fourth, used as an extension. And the 13th, the interval of a sixth, used as an extension on one of those chords. And the thing about extensions is they don't really change the role or the basic sound or structure of the chord. That's why they're called extensions or embellishments. They just add a different color to the same basic structure of your chord. Okay, so let's look at each of these chords and what those definitions mean. So the A major 7 is a root, which we also sometimes call the 1, a major 3rd, a perfect 5th, and a major 7th. If you don't understand intervals, I have a video on intervals, complete video, you can watch it. So those notes for an A major 7 are going to correspond to A, C sharp, E, and G sharp. The G sharp 7, so what's the difference between a major 7 and a 7? The 7 has the same triad, root 3rd and 5th, but instead of a major 7, it has a minor 7, a half step lower. So in this case, we're going to have G sharp, B sharp. Yes, I know people hate this, but that's the proper, so it's enharmonic to a C, but because it's the 3rd, we got to count G, A, B and use that exact note here of B sharp, okay? Then over here, we have a D sharp, and finally, an F sharp. And the last chord, C sharp minor 7, what's the difference here? A minor 7 chord has a minor 3rd instead, and then a minor 7. So the notes for this one would be C sharp, E, G sharp, and finally B. Okay, so how do I know these intervals? How do I find this? That's a whole other topic. Watch my video on intervals if you want to know how to do this. Okay, and of course, you need to know the definition of your triads and chords, but I'm giving you everything over here just as hopefully as a reminder. If it's not a reminder, that's why you need to know theory. Okay, so that's for the notes of those chords. We're going to see how to play them in just a second. But right now, what I'd like to do is talk about the key and the logic behind this chord progression. What is the key over here? When you look at a chord progression like this is a pro tip over here. Anytime you see a 7, that 7 is going to act as what we call a dominant chord, which is the chords that build the most tension in the harmonization of the scale that you're in. I also have a video on this, but when you take a scale, you can harmonize it, meaning make chords on every note of the scale, piling up the chords typically in thirds, and that will give you a sequence of chord that is going to be determined by the key that you're in. But the sequence of chord is always the same for all major scale harmonizations or minor scale harmonizations. So when you see this 7, it is typically, as a dominant chord that builds tension, going to resolve onto what we call the tonic chord, which is the chord, the first chord of your scale when you're harmonizing. So it's very likely that when you see a 7, it is building tension and resolving onto the key that we're in. So suspicion here is high that we are in the key of C sharp minor. Therefore, that's the scale that we would use if we wanted to improvise over this. Now, be careful with the 7 chords though. This whole thing that I'm talking to you about is not true with the blues. The blues leverages 7 chords in a way that's completely different than conventional harmony like this. So if you see that it's a 12-bar blues, don't go and use this rule. But if it seems like it's not a blues, it's a piece of, again, standard tonal major or minor harmony, this is a great trick. So now that we suspect that we're in C sharp minor, let's harmonize the C sharp minor scale and see if we can find those other chords, if it makes sense, basically. Are we correct? And this is exactly how you would do it, by the way. After a while, you can just look at it and know, but at the beginning, you got to study a little bit. So the harmonization of the minor scale goes as follows, especially if we're harmonizing here in 7th chords, so tetrads. Our first chord is going to be a minor 7. The second chord would be half diminished, or minor 7 flat 5. The chord that's on the minor 3rd degree, remember that the 3rd in the minor scale is a flat 3, you have to indicate that interval here, right? We're just romanizing to show that we're talking about a chord. So this one would be a major 7. Then we have a 4th minor 7, a 5th minor 7, a flat 6 major 7, and a flat 7, 7. We're in C sharp minor, so my notes are C sharp, which would be a minor 7, D sharp, which would be half diminished. Then we have E major 7. Then we have, whole step above E, F sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7. And here again, I'm just following the sequence, whole half, whole half, whole, to find my notes. If you don't know them, just follow that sequence. That's the sequence for the minor scale. Hopefully you know your notes, the notes of your scales. Again, that's why it's good to know theory. Okay, we're at G sharp, then we have an A major 7, and finally a B 7. So we have this chord, that's check. We have this chord, check. But here we have a G sharp 7, and we notice here that normally we should get a minor 7. That's something that you learn when you study minor harmony. In minor harmony, it's very common to turn this 5 chord that's normally minor 7 into a 7 chord in order to add tension to that chord and make it dominant, like I said. So when you see in minor a 5-7 chord, that's what's happening. And this is exactly what's happening over here. So our chord progression is a flat 6, 5 dominant as a 7, resolving onto the 1 chord. And typically, because this chord is what we call subdominant, it builds a bit of tension, but not as much as this dominant chord, subdominant. We put brackets between those to show this. So subdominant, dominant, you put brackets in between and you indicate the resolution with an arrow like this. That's how you study traditional harmony. That's how you would indicate your analysis if you were going to Berkeley or other music school. Now when I look at something like this, I'm absolutely confident that the key is C sharp minor. It is a flat 6-5-1 in C sharp minor. That is what this tune is made of. So this is a satisfying feeling when you know how to do this, because if you were going to play some little lines or solos, that's where you would go, C sharp minor. Right? No surprises. It's going to work over that tune if you wanted to take a solo. You can predict that something's going to work without having to muddle through and make a bunch of mistakes when you know theory and you know your harmony. Okay, so now let's analyze this part per part, because again, I'm basically playing this the whole time, but I'm switching a few things around. So first it starts with this little part right there. So there is some left-hand stuff and right-hand stuff, but let's talk first about the chords. So here, I'm actually not even playing a major 7. I'm taking the 7 out, which is totally fine. Again, you can take notes out of the chord. That's not going to clash. It's if you add a wrong note that you're going to clash, but you can always trim your chords back down to a simpler chord. So from an A major 7, I'm just playing, that's what the keyboard is playing, but I'm not playing the 7. I'm just playing this A major here, taken in my E shape. You all know how to play this. And if you don't know what E shape means, watch my video on the cage system. So, and I'm sliding in, I'm not playing the full shape, I'm just playing this little broken down version. Some people call it the F shape. So it's the higher 4 notes of this full shape. The reason I do this is I want to slide into the note. So I go, and then 2 higher strings. Then I go and add my pinky right there. This note is a whole step above this note, which is my root, my 1. So 1 major second. I'm adding a major second to this chord, which makes it basically an A add 9 that I'm actually playing here temporarily. Again, it's just an embellishment. It adds color to that chord. Then I go to this classic guitar shape, G sharp 7. Right? It's like a major chord without the pinky. And then to the classic again, very standard C sharp minor. It's like a C sharp minor 7. It's like a C sharp minor without the pinky. And then I do this little thing where I go. So I'm basically, that's again a very standard soul technique that you can use if you're playing minor 7 chords anywhere else in any other tune. Adding that little effect adds color, because what you're doing when you release this note, which is the minor 3rd, you're replacing it with a 2nd, which creates more of a C sharp minor 9 sound. Now, if you're finicky in music theory, you'll say, well, no, you're taking the 3rd away, so it would become a sus chord. Yeah, but that's not how it's thought of over here. The basic chord is still a straight up C sharp minor 7. That's what the keyboard is playing. So it's acting more here like a C sharp minor 9. But I'm using a voicing where I happen not to have a 3rd because it's an easy voicing. You just lift the finger. Right? So the whole thing goes, without the right hand, it would go. Now with my right hand, I'm using kind of like a percussive guitar technique. And it's all fingers, no picks at that point. And I'll use my thumb to hit the bass notes, and then the other fingers, these 3 fingers, to hit the other notes. And the point of this technique is you're trying to, there's this percussive aspect over here. Listen again. And those taps are typically happening on the backbeat, which is 2 and 4. So they're synced up with the snare, which sounds kind of cool. Right, so it's a classic technique. Again, look at my right hand. Again, you see how I'm hitting that backbeat there. That's a quick thumb, fingers while I hammer on. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then after that first one where you hear the slide in, I go to actually a normal A major. And I do the same idea, but now I want to hear the bass note. And so that's the 3rd time around. And finally, on the last one, I just played this A major trimmed down triad here. This one over here, which actually I played it like this. And the reason why I play it like this is it brings me closer to the next shape. But again, this is just an alternate shape for this. You get the same result, right? So after that, I go. And there I play the actual C sharp minor 9, and that's the shape for it. Adds a nice color, right? Smooth. So again, the whole thing, let's use a metronome here. I'm at 80 beats per minute. It's roughly the tempo. Then the vocals start, and it's exactly the same thing. So you do the same thing all over again, right? Same thing twice. Don't have to show you again. It's really exactly the same thing. Try to think in parts like this when you're picking up a tune, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. If you can tell that it's the same part, you're like, okay, well, I play this, and then I play exactly the same thing again. And then we go into the verse. Now, I don't really play anything during the verse. I only start playing afterwards on the pre-chorus, where he starts going a little faster with the lyrics. And there, I'm going to use again some classic neo-soul voicings. What I'm going to do here is play a variation of the A major 7. Think of this, that's your A major 7 in the E shape. In the D shape, an A major 7 looks like this. So right there, and bar. And a classic way of playing this in neo-soul is to actually suspend it. So now again, I'm not playing the third, instead I'm playing this. That's a cool sound. So here you have 1, 5, 7, and the third is not in there. I want the 9 instead. But it's the same thing. This wouldn't really act as a sus chord harmonically, because again, the pianist is playing a major 7. It's just a voicing that omits the third because it sounds cool, okay? So here I'm going to hammer on with my pinky twice and go. Now I have my pick. Then I do this little line in C sharp minor pentatonic in the A shape there. So again. And add tempo with the metronome. Then I repeat that same thing with this voicing here. Right, and think about how you can use this. In a tune where you would normally play a major 7, think, oh, I remember that trick. I can go up to the D shape, up an octave, and play this instead. It sounds different. It sounds more soulful, neo-soul again. So, second time around, I play this. And then I play this again, classic soulful lick. Now, what's going on here? I'm in my C sharp minor pentatonic. It's very pentatonic-y, neo-soul and soul in general. I'm going to slide in with my index up to the next position. B string, I'm barring the whole thing, but I'm going B string up and E string down. And then I slide back down here. So this is not picked, right? Then I go a little blue note here. So again, the whole thing. That's it. Then we get to that little single note line after this. That one is again C sharp minor pentatonic on the G string, and it goes like this. So time division here, so the rhythmic unit I'm using here is a dotted eighth and a 16th note. Back, back, right? 1, So the first time I'm going here to B natural because that's in my minor scale. But over this chord, I go to the B sharp. Remember, the one that's different, that's in the G sharp 7 chord, to catch that difference. You don't need to learn new scales to do this. You just need to know, oh, there's something happening on this chord. This is a new note that's normally not in the minor scale. So here I'm going, again, it's just one shape lower here in the C shape, a little slide out, and then up to this chord. So this chord is a C sharp minor in the E shape, minor 7, but I'm adding the 9 on top, and I'm not playing the bass. I don't need to. The bassist is doing this. Okay, so this whole part goes like this. 3, 4. Then it's chorus time. Here I'm gonna go still in this shape over here. So with my pinky, I'm hammering here and then hitting the E string. Hammering on the E string here this time with my pinky. And then down to this G sharp 7, but adding kind of this little hammer on into that major third. And then the same thing as we were doing with the fingers, but this time I have the pick on, so. And then I finish the same way as at the end of the intro. And that's it for this part. Let's do it with the click. 2, 3, 4. By the way, all the tabs over here, you'll have the full tab attached, so don't worry about that. If you want to actually learn the whole thing, you'll have it available. Okay, then comes that little kind of in-between riff. So what's happening there? So here, again, I'm still playing the same chords, but I'm playing some different voicings. The first one, I'm going to actually play this one here. So this is, again, I'm barring here on the fret number 9, and then adding the pinky over here on the B string, fret 12. Now what is this chord? Well, again, you have to remember that A is on the bass. So that's really what you're hearing with the basses. And in this case, when you look at the notes of that chord, that's the 5th, that's the 9, and has that funky sound that I really liked. And then I play just a normal C shape, G sharp 7 here. A lot of guitarists know that one. So again, it's 1 and up. That's it. Then there is this little tiny little pentatonic lick again in C sharp minor pentatonic. Then again. And there comes the pentatonic key neo soul lick that goes. So that's very classic in neo soul, and I'm using my palm here to do some nice staccato palm muting. The first time I just take my C sharp minor, 9, hammer on here, and then switch to palm muting, and descend the pentatonic simply all the way down to this low note of the A string here. That's a sextuplet rhythm, right? 6 beats, 6 notes per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then straight into the same thing. That's that little line from the other single note line. So now I'm sliding in here to the C sharp minor 9. So kind of that same motive, and I finish with the same in there, just a minor 7. I'm not adding the 9 this time. You want to do it all the time, right? So again with the click. Then I stop playing, take a break, you know, have a sip of water or whatever. And then finally, in the pre-chorus this time, I go back to the... So that replaces what used to be the... in the first part. This time I go... Same line. There's a break. There's a break with the vocal run, and at the end of the vocal run, I use this little, again, very neo-soul lick. That's the A shape of C sharp minor. And I'm just gonna take the fifth off here and just... So I'm hammering up all the higher notes of the pentatonic here. I keep these fingers here pressed, and I go... That's it. Very fast. Get 6 couplets. And then get ready for the final chorus, which is the same thing as the first one. Okay? So again, that last pre-chorus with the click. Etc. So again, you'll have the whole tab attached over here if you want. If you want to practice it, practice it versus the song on YouTube or Spotify, right? So you can support the band and at the same time, maybe practice some of those soulful or neo-soul tricks or chops, okay? They're very useful. You can decline these kind of ideas into a lot of different things in your own music, especially if you like that style, okay? Those are tricks that, again, didn't invent those things. Those are things that I learned from other guitarists that are quite common. There's nothing revolutionary in what I'm doing, but I found it to be appropriate in the style of this tune. So again, this is Parachute by Eldergrown, the full video of how I came up with those parts over here and what I'm doing, following this simple chord progression, but trying to kind of move it and make it a little more interesting so it's not always the same thing the whole time, right? There are parts that are a little smoother, slower, fuller chords, some more single note line stuff, and then some more, I would say, funky or neo-soul elements to them. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned some things. And I also hope that you can see how I'm using this theory stuff and the fretboard navigation all the time. This is exactly how I think about what I'm doing and how I come up with some of those shapes and ideas and how I guide myself through understanding the tune, the composition, and whatever improvisation could be made over it if there was a little bit of a solo or just some little licks like this. So one more time, if you like this channel, if you like this video, then subscribe, like, and share. Remember to download the documents and remember to check out all the other videos that I made if some of those notions are obscure. There are plenty of other free videos on my channel that will explain some of those concepts, whether it's the decade system, pentatonic scales, intervals, harmonization, which the title of the video I think is what to play over what. So anyways, make sure you check out those videos if you need. And finally, if you would like to take your playing further and you would actually like to study with me so I can personally mentor you with all my other amazing students in the Academy, then please apply for the Metz Academy. There's no strings attached to this call. It's just a call with me to get to know you, understand where you're at and where you want to go, and see if you would be a good fit for the Academy and if the Academy would actually benefit you, right? It needs to be a two-way street. It's a small circle. I don't take a million people in there, right? So I select my students carefully. So again, click the link below. You can apply for this. I also include a free full training video if you want to watch that as well. That explains a little bit more about the Academy. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, go listen to the song. Go listen on Spotify or on YouTube. That really helps a ton. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't hesitate to comment. Tell me what you think about those guitar parts or of the tune. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
I've been parachuting out the sky, out my mind, out to find some other humans, but which one am I? None of us can tame this tourist any longer now. Over and over again.